So UFC Qatar is officially in the books, and Arman Tsarukyan just absolutely dominated Dan Hooker and got the submission in round number 2. What an amazing card this was, man. This was, in my opinion, hands down, dude, one of the best UFC events of the entire year. Amazing card. We only had a couple decisions on this card, and outside of the very first fight of the night, which was a couple of heavyweights making their debuts, the other decisions on the card were action-packed fights, man. This card was sensational, dude. We had submissions, we had knockouts, we had literally everything you could possibly want on this card, man. And this card on paper was absolutely stacked, right? We were all talking about that. But it's one thing to be stacked on paper, and then when it comes fight night, how does it deliver? This card was absolutely a 10 out of 10, man. 10 out of 10. Right, and we got a lot to discuss because in the main event, Arman Tsarukyan once again proves that he is one of the most elite lightweights of all time, man. He is an elite fighter, dude. He's in the prime of his career. We've all wanted the Arman versus Ilia fight. I feel like the time is now, man. The UFC, please don't mess this up. We have Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria right at our fingertips, man. Right at our fingertips. And then how about Ian Machado Garry going out there, beating Belal Muhammad by a decision, and I think he has thrown his name into the title conversation. So much to discuss, man. In case you can't tell, I'm jazzed up, man. We did a live stream, my first full watch-along that we did for a UFC event. It went really well, man. Those of you that were in there, I appreciate it. Let's rock and roll into this, man, because I got a ton of thoughts. We're going to start with the main event, then work our way down to the very first fight of the night. Now, main event. Coming into this fight, and actually in terms of predictions, man, I think I only got one wrong. I got most of these predictions right, and for a lot of them, I was even predicting the round that the finishes were going to happen. So this card was just meant to be for me, man. I was so excited for this card, and it started and stopped with the main event, right? Arman Tsarukyan, I said coming into this fight, I even dedicated a specific video for this, just talking about the main event. And, you know, it was no disrespect towards Dan Hooker. It's just the fact that Arman Tsarukyan was levels above, right? And we got to see that in this fight. This was utter domination, right? On the feet, you know, early in the fight, you know, we saw Dan Hooker moving and grooving, right? Being long, throwing those kicks, hands down, being that psycho tattoo Dan that we all know and love. But come on, man, we all knew coming into this that Arman Tsarukyan was the heavy favorite for a reason. And I picked him by a round 2 ground and pound stoppage. Now, he ended up getting a submission. Right? When what I love about Arman Tsarukyan's performance in this fight is we had to see him solve the puzzle of Dan Hooker. So while he was absolutely expected to go in there and not just win the fight, right? I've said that many times, guys. This wasn't, well, Arman's just supposed to go in there and, you know, lay on Dan and maybe win a decision and grit one out. Like, that was not the expectation. Everybody knew Arman was going to win this fight. It was the expectation that he goes out there and completely dominates, which is exactly what he did. This is, in my opinion, what Arman was supposed to do because he is that dang good. That is the standard that we have for Arman Tsarukyan. He did just that, man. His takedown entries were nasty. He's got beautiful freestyle wrestling, very, very strong for the weight class. Nasty ground and pound. What I thought was so impressive as well, we have not seen Arman in the octagon since UFC 300. Ring rust ain't real, man. I know Dominic Cruz, right, talks about the ring rust situation not being real. Some fighters say it is. Right, and clearly Arman Tsarukyan, he just went in there and was moving and grooving, man. Got to the takedowns, landed some big shots on the feet, and his boxing looked good. Right, I said that coming in. I saw, you know, in the UFC 319 vlogs with Hamzat. I mean, you know, he had a boxing coach. Arman Tsarukyan's in the prime of his career, man. This guy really, really works hard, man. It's very, very clear. I feel like we see improvements in Arman's game every single time out. Landing big shots on Dan Hooker. Brought Dan Hooker's head down, right, with the little tie clinch. Boom. Threw a nasty knee up the middle and was able to sting him a little bit, man. Then took him down, beat him up on the ground, pulled him off the octagon side. And it just felt like in the first round, we were going to see maybe a little bit of back and forth. But then I knew by the time Arman got to the corner, his corner advice, him starting to get the feel for the fight, he was just going to take over and end up just dominating Dan Hooker after round 1. And that's exactly what we saw. Very good first round, gathered his data, comes out there, gets Dan down. Starts raining down some nasty ground and pound, busted him open, had his face completely swollen. If there is one guy in the UFC outside of John Jones that you do not want to be underneath when it comes to the ground and pound, Arman Tsarukyan is that guy. I've said that before, man. This is one of the best grapplers in the UFC, and he's got a haunted house ground and pound game, man. His ground and pound game is nasty, dude. And then that's what it opens up. It opens up the submission game. And how about when Dan Hooker was jumping the Gilly, man? Don't be so silly, jump the Gilly. That was a mistake. And I know Dan Hooker's just kind of throwing up Hail Marys, right? Because he knows coming into this fight that Arman Tsarukyan, he's going to have confidence, of course, but he knows how good Arman is. And you got to see that, I feel like, at times for some of those desperation submission attempts from Dan Hooker. Obviously, you're going to throw up submissions, but I feel like he knew, man. He knew how hard of a fight this was, and anytime that he had an opportunity for a submission, he was going to try. And then he ended up on bottom. Bad place to be against Arman, man. And even when Hooker was locking in these submissions, they were tight, but Arman looked like an alligator on the ground, dude. Alligator Arman rolling out of these things. Nasty gator rolls, man. Excellent submission defense from Arman. The guy is world-class on the ground, was doing grappling matches in between, his inactivity since UFC 300, right? We know he was supposed to fight at UFC 311 against Islam, pulled out. And the UFC is like, we're not giving you a title shot again. You got to go out there and prove something, right? Weighed in as the backup at 317, sort of got back into the good graces of the UFC. This was Arman's time to shine. He went out there and absolutely did it. He's got the next title shot locked in my opinion, man. 150%. That is absolutely the fight to make, is Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan. So we're going to talk about that in just a second, but kudos to Arman Tsarukyan, man. And again, Dan Hooker, always being game, always being a savage that's going to show up and scrap. Dan Hooker was, he was trying, man, throwing up submissions, trying to land shots on the feet. The expectation was, like I said, not for Arman to just go out here and win this fight, but to dominate just like he did, because we believe that Arman, at least I believe, is that good in the lightweight division. He did exactly that, man. Dominant performance by Arman Tsarukyan. I figured that he was going to go out there and make this look very easy against a very game Dan Hooker. But Dan Hooker, at the end of the day, is a very entertaining fighter. He's, your favorite fighter's kind of fighter vibe, right? But at the end of the day, he's not a world champion elite fighter when it comes to the lightweight division. And that's just was the difference for me, man. And Arman's in the prime of his career. This guy's as good as it gets. So now that brings us to, after a great performance here from Arman, getting the submission in round 2, beautiful arm triangle, we now have, in my opinion, one of the biggest fights in the UFC at our fingertips, and that is Arman versus Ilia. It's the fight to make, man. And I know people are going to sit up here and say, or they're going to be commenting below, whatever, oh, well, we want to see, Ilia versus Islam. Ilia versus Islam, in my opinion, is without question one of the biggest fights the UFC could put together right now in terms of the star power, right? And of course, we're going to be excited in this and that. In my opinion, I believe that Islam is the best fighter in the sport, and then right behind him, we have Ilia Topuria. So I get the, the intrigue, obviously. I've lost a little bit of interest since UFC 322 with how easily Islam Makhachev dominated a big, strong, very, very good striker in Jack Della Maddalena. Even though I think Ilia is better than him, it's got me a little hesitant because Islam looks so big. He looks so dominant, so strong. And I feel like at welterweight, right, where Ilia was fighting at featherweight, right, and back in the day used to be a bantamweight, right? So while I've said time and time again, Ilia's power can literally translate into the welterweight division, and I think he could be fine in the weight class in terms of the power, but he's going to be small, right? Even in the lightweight division, he's a stout guy, right? He's shorter, he's stout, he's strong. He's going to be noticeably smaller at 170 pounds. And I know Islam, right, he was a 55er, but he was a big 55er, man. And now that he's really filled out into the welterweight frame, I feel like a great way to really kind of maybe draw people back in a little bit, because I think people feel the same way. Let me know if you feel that way below. But if Arman Tsarukyan and Ilia go out there and Ilia ends up getting rid of Arman Tsarukyan, knocking him out, stopping the takedowns, getting back to his feet, I feel like that is going to take the intrigue for Ilia versus Islam to the next level. I feel like it is. Right? How could you not watch Arman Tsarukyan do that after? And there's the animosity is there. Remember Arman, Ilia, I want my title. You're ducking me, right? Ilia, right? When he was chasing the duck around, like Arman was really campaigning well for a title shot, man. The beef is there. The animosity is there, right? Arman headbutting Dan Hooker at the ceremonial weigh-ins, right? Maybe not the smartest thing to do because he could have injured Dan, injured himself, and then we don't end up getting the fight. But Arman, he's a star, man. He's a star. He understands how to build up the fights, and he's a guy that just has this I don't give a shit attitude. And he's going to go out there and he's going to ball out, man, and he understands how to build up these fights. You saw him and Dan Hooker going back and forth, and they shook it out at the end. At the end of the day, it's the fight game, man. I want to see Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria. That's the fight I want. That is absolutely the fight I want. We got contenders at welterweight right now, man, and Ilia hasn't even defended his belt at 155 pounds. And I get it, guys. It's a super fight. It's a huge fight. I understand all those things, and I won't be upset if the UFC books it. But in my opinion, I would like to see Islam defend his new welterweight title against one of the top contenders that we have in the welterweight division, because we've got a lot of them. And I want to see Ilia defend his lightweight belt for the first time. He only defended the 45 belt once, right? And he's on maybe the greatest 3-fight win streak in the history of the sport. KOing Volk, KOing Holloway, KOing Charles. And we finally have a guy in his prime who seems like he has a skill set that could trouble Ilia. Sign me up. I want to see it. I want to see it, dog. I absolutely want to see it. And you know, a lot of the critiques, which I think are stupid, right? People are saying, well, Ilia's knocking out a bunch of washed up guys. These guys aren't washed. Ilia knocked out Volkanovski. Volkanovski went out there and schooled Diego Lopez. Ilia knocked out Holloway. First person to do it. Goes out there, stunts on Dustin Poirier in the BMF fight. Right? And then Charles Oliveira just dominated Gamrot. So Ilia's got these guys as Mr. Bounce Backs. They come back and they bounce back strong, man. I want to see Ilia versus Arman. It's absolutely the fight, dude. Because what we've seen is Ilia against good strikers, guys that have some decent ground games that we've seen. Like Charles has a dangerous ground game. But with Arman, it's different, and we all know that. He's in his prime. He's very physically strong outside of the loss to Islam, and I thought he got robbed against Gamrot, man. Outside of the Islam loss, this guy's pretty much flawless, and he had a very competitive fight with Charles. I understand that. But styles make fights, man. MMA math doesn't always, right? 2 + 2 = 5 in MMA math, man, right? Arman Tsarukyan with his ground and pound, nasty submission skills, and I said that, right? Training with Khamzat for the 319 camp, I feel like he has completely leveled up his game, man. More of a submission threat now than ever, right? He's always had a submission threat, but I feel like it's even more now than ever, man. Got the takedowns easy against Hooker, nasty freestyle wrestling, excellent ground and pound, good control, very physically strong. I love the matchup, man. Him versus Ilia. Like, how does that not excite everybody, man? That is absolutely the fight to make. Absolutely the fight to make. And I'd like to see it early next year, right? We got the Paramount deal kicking in. We know that Ilia's not fighting again this year, obviously. Let's kick off the Paramount deal, man, with an Ilia Topuria fight against Arman Tsarukyan. Arman, I don't think that we know of, took really any damage. He made it look really easy. And that's why I also wanted Arman to go out there and make it look easy. Take no damage, be able to make a quick turnaround, because he was out since 300, right? Had been out for a significant amount of time. He's a guy, he's been saying, listen, man, I want to get a quick turnaround here. I'm willing to go. Ilia Topuria only fought once this year at UFC 317. Starched Oliveira in round 1. And he's only fought one time this year. I feel like a lot of that has to do, like the UFC, you know, the new Paramount deals coming in. They're trying to obviously save some of the star power. So I think that has to, you know, a lot to do with it. We got our fight, man. At 155, prime on prime, Ilia Topuria, the nasty boxing, good ground game against the powerful, improved striker with a very dominant ground game in Arman Tsarukyan, who isn't just some guy that's controlling people on the ground. Nasty ground and pound, man. And what comes with nasty ground and pound is not only can he pull out his Freddy Krueger tactics, like I was saying, right, with the elbows, cutting you up, busting you up, but then you start to move. You start to try to shrimp, create that space, and then now the next thing you know, Arman's got a submission. That's what we saw in this fight, man. Beautiful display of tactics by Arman Tsarukyan. Knew exactly how he wanted to fight Dan Hooker, tagged him on the feet, caught him with the knee, took him down, got him into his world, and dominated him, man. So that's the fight I want, man. I know I keep saying it, but I'm so excited for that fight. Like, am I the only one that's like buzzing about that fight, man? Prime on prime in the lightweight division. We have our fight, man. We have our fight. I don't want to hear about Gaethje. He's been sitting on the sideline crying for a title shot. Paddy Pimblett doesn't have a win over really anybody good, let's be honest. As much as, you know, I'm rating Paddy Pimblett, his ground game is really, really high level, man. Good jiu-jitsu. Nobody's beaten Michael Chandler like that. Butchered Michael Chandler, which was very impressive. But Tony Ferguson, an old washed up Tony, old washed up Bobby Green, old washed up Chandler. So to me, Arman Tsarukyan going out there doing that against Dan Hooker, also just, you know, got the win against Oliveira at 300. It's the fight to make, man. It's the fight to make, and I feel like if Arman can implement his game, he could definitely cause Ilia some problems, because we saw Bryce Mitchell take down Ilia. I know that that's at 45, but at 55, Ilia looked dang good against Charles, man. We know that Ilia, in my opinion, he's the best boxer in the UFC. Elite boxing, nasty jab, really good combinations, nasty calf kick, right? And he's got the power to put anybody away. I think he can knock out Arman Tsarukyan. So my early prediction, I would pick Ilia Topuria to win that fight. However, I've been saying, if anybody in the division, now that there's no Islam, if anybody at lightweight can beat Ilia, it's Arman. It's Arman, and that's why I want the fight. I want to see Ilia tested against a well-rounded mixed martial artist that has the wrestling, has the ground and pound, the submission threat, and the improved striking with dangerous power on the feet. It's a fight to make. Absolutely the fight to make. So my early lean, I would go Ilia Topuria. I think he would find a KO. But if Arman can go out there and implement his game, I think he could put Ilia on his back and cause a ton of problems for Ilia Topuria, man. And listen, as much as I like Ilia, I just don't know how much he's buzzing about this fight, dude. I don't know how much he's buzzing about this fight. I think he's going to be looking for the Paddy fight, right? Because that's the big name. And again, that's easy bucks, in my opinion. Paddy Pimblett is a much easier fight than Arman, right? Paddy's got a good ground game, but on the feet, he's kind of stale. His wrestling's nowhere near as good as Arman's, and Arman is dangerous, man. Arman and dangerous. You know what I'm saying? So if the UFC, maybe they go the Paddy Pimblett route. If I'm Ilia, I'm like, man, that Paddy Pimblett fight's easy. Because Paddy's got a good ground game, but on the feet, he doesn't move his head. He's very hittable. I can see Ilia easily knocking him out. The hardest fight is Arman, man. And I do believe that Ilia wants to go out there and prove people wrong. He knows that people are looking at Arman as his toughest test. So I feel like that this is the fight to really motivate Ilia as well, man. This is the fight. Arman versus Ilia at 155. Book it, man. Because if Ilia Topuria can't get that KO and Arman implements his game, I think Arman Tsarukyan finds a way to win through the ground game, man. And he's a very smart fighter. He's not just going to wait in the range like Charles Oliveira, be overly aggressive and get smoked with a right hand. He's going to be tactical. He's going to utilize his wrestling, his kicks, his knees. He's got a full arsenal, man. He's a complete fighter. Just might be the most complete fighter in the lightweight division outside of the champ. Ilia Topuria, prime on prime. One of the best fights stylistically and really in terms of hype, I think, the UFC can put together right now. Arman versus Ilia, man, you get the point. Book the dang fight, UFC. Book the dang fight. Don't overcomplicate this thing. Let's get it done in early 2026 as long as both guys are ready to go. I think that they are. Let's get this thing on the books, man. It's going to be a massive fight. I can't wait. All right. Belal Muhammad versus Ian Machado Garry. Great performance by Ian Garry, man. And listen, Ian Garry now in his career, he has victories over a guy like Michael Venom Page, Jeff Neal, Carlos Prates, and now Belal Muhammad. He's 17-1 as a pro right now? Ever since he's came into the UFC, the only loss was a fight that he stepped in there. I believe it was on short notice against Shavkat Rakhmonov and gave him all he could handle, man. I picked Shavkat to win the fight, but I was very impressed with Ian Machado Garry. That to me showed how legit Ian is. We know he's got a good skill set. We know he's very dynamic, very fast, very rangy, very technical. But he made Shavkat look human. And Shavkat was the guy that was looked at as the boogeyman of the welterweight division. So to go out there and do what he did against Shavkat, show the ground game against MVP. I know MVP struggles on the ground, but it was still impressive. You know, training over at Shoot to Box with Oliveira and those dudes, man, right? His ground game's leveled up. His takedown defense was outstanding. Didn't get taken down one time in this fight by Belal Muhammad. I think Ian Garry should fight Islam Makhachev next for the title. Listen, I picked Michael Morales and Prates to both win their fights at 322. And I've been advocating, listen, those to me are two of the most dangerous guys in the welterweight division right now. 100%. Morales is a my player, man. He's the unicorn. He's got all the attributes, right? It's like someone turned up all the ratings. 99 speed, 99 power, right? That's Michael Morales. But the bottom line is Morales, yeah, he took on Sean Brady, got the nasty KO in round one. So yeah, he's got the hype. He's undefeated, all those different things, looks unstoppable. But that was his first real win inside, like big win inside the rankings, man. Like he dusted Gilbert Burns, which was impressive. Starched Neil Magny, all of it's impressive. But Ian Garry's out here taking risks, man. He's fighting Carlos Prates on a shorter notice, right? Carlos Prates just starts Leon Edwards, and I'm pretty sure Prates has KO'd everybody in the UFC, and he's won every fight in the UFC except for Ian Garry. Ian Garry beat him, and I know he almost finished Garry late in round 5. I get it. But at the end of the day, like, Garry's been damn impressive. His ground game looks good. His striking is good, and I've said this about Ian, man. He's one of the few fighters I feel like that we have in the UFC right now that can literally strike from anywhere, moving forward, moving backwards, side to side, lateral, the footwork. Just everything about Garry is complete. He's a complete fighter. Right now, do I think that he has the ground game to be able to keep up with Islam? No, I don't. So as much as I think Ian Machado Garry should get the next title shot, given the strength of schedule, the wins that he's had, being game, willing to fight anybody, anytime, any place, which is exactly, his motto that's what I would break it down to. Fighting Prates like that, Prates was knocking everybody out, and he's like, sign me up. Everybody's afraid of Shavkat. I'll step in and fight him, right? Because it was supposed to be Shavkat Belal. I believe Belal got injured. Ian Garry's just willing to fight anybody, man. I feel like that should be rewarded here. And to go out there and outscore Belal Muhammad, strike with him on the feet, outland him with the jab, right? Again, look how good Ian is, man. The calf kicks, those oblique shots. He was really, really busting up Belal Muhammad from range, man. And Belal was standing in there, man. Right? People were like, Belal's boring, Belal's boring. How about a damn good past 2 fights for Belal Muhammad? Even I thought the Leon fight was good. Dominated Leon Edwards, dunked him on his head. Right, put the pressure on him. Went out there against JDM, didn't really have a ton of success with the grappling and was striking with him. Out here, not having a ton of success with the grappling, striking with Ian Garry, landing some decent shots, man. So Belal Muhammad, game as can be, man. 2 good performances, even though he didn't win. He was out there swinging and banging, swanging and banging, as Derek Lewis would say. So the bottom line is Belal Muhammad's ground game, it's just a little bit too easy to read now, right? He just kind of shoots in, gets to the double, gets to the single. Up against the fence, guys have gotten so good at being able to stop a basic double and single, unless it's out in space where you don't have the octagon side to assist you. Like when Hamzat shoots his double, when Islam shoots, right? They get to their trips, they get to their, a very low double to where it's very hard to defend, where Belal, it's higher up, it's easier to see. I feel like it's just kind of the point to where these guys now, these younger guys, especially like an Ian Garry, man, when you teach these long-rangey guys, these youthful guys, you could teach them how to defend a simple takedown, right? And Belal was disguising his entries decently. It's just how good Ian Machado Garry is. And the welterweight division, like I've said, is on fire. I think it's the best division in the UFC right now. And out of all of the great performances that we've seen at UFC 322, the KO from Cortes, the KO from Morales, I get it. Maybe the better performances because they were KOs. I think that's pretty fair to say. But to go out there and beat the number 1 ranked guy, a former world champion who was on a crazy win streak before, losing to JDM, right? Went out there, dominated Leon Edwards to win the belt, was on a crazy win streak prior to that. I feel like Ian Garry's built up a nice resume, man. 17-1, taking chances, taking risks. He's young. He talks a big game, had a good little promo he cut for himself on the microphone, wanting Islam, right? I feel like Ian Garry's earned the title opportunity, man. And it's not even like it's my opinion, but I'm just going off of like what we've seen. Right? I understand that, wow, recency bias, the KOs, the performances, like, yeah, Cortes and Morales, I would say was more impressive. But to go out there and outscore Belal Muhammad, like Belal's tough as hell, man. He's super durable. He's got a chin of steel, dude. Honestly, we need to start talking about Belal when it comes to greatest chins, man. Super durable. Eating big shots. I didn't love the eye pokes. I thought Big Rich Mitchell was going to take some points, man, because he's been pretty stern with, with the eye poke situations and stuff. So Garry, I feel like I don't want to say he got away with one. The first one was an eye poke. The second one, the eyes with the right hand hit the forehead, and then it kind of looked like, the knuckles or the gloves. So that one I wasn't so sure. But either way, it was a great performance by Ian Machado Garry. Belal came to scrap, man. Again, Belal super game, willing to fight anybody. This was a tough fight for him. That's why I picked Ian Garry to win this fight. Tricky stylistic matchup, long-rangey guy, good kicks, good movement, good footwork. Ian Garry's a problem. And I don't think he beats Islam, but I think he's earned the title shot, right? He's got the footwork. He's got the movement. Belal was pressuring the heck out of him, man. And I felt like Garry was starting to slow down just a smidge, maybe. His body language looked that way. So if it was 5 rounds, like I said, that could have been very, very interesting if this was a 5-round fight. So I feel like the UFC wasn't taking any chances, right? Fresh contender, Ian Machado Garry, 3-rounder co-main event. I feel like he's earned the opportunity to go out there and fight Islam Makhachev. Ian Garry talks a big game. He's confident, cocky, going to go out there and put on a show, man. Cut himself a nice little promo. I think that he has talked a big game, and he has went out there and he has backed it up by taking on anybody and getting a bunch of good wins, man. So I think Ian has earned the title shot. But like I said, he's earned it. But I think that Islam makes it look pretty easy against Ian Machado Garry. The footwork, the movement, it'd be interesting. But Islam's ground game, whole nother level, brother. We have to check the grappling. Nobody checked this. We have to check it. So I think that Islam would dominate Ian Garry. But Gary's deserved the shot, man. And then, like I said, Ian's got a little bit of an interesting style, right? With the footwork, the movement, the kicks, those oblique shots. He's a little bit more of a puzzle, I feel like, that a guy like JDM. But at the end of the day, I feel like there's levels when it comes to the ground game, man. Give me Islam Makhachev. And even on the feet, Islam's a handful. Great performance by Ian. Where do we go with Belal? I'm not quite sure, man, right? Couple losses there against some of the best guys, though, right? I feel like Belal will be back, man. I know he's, 36, 37. Maybe has a couple more fights at least left. We'll see kind of what Belal wants to do moving forward, man. But again, Belal willing to take on anybody, man, and going out there and throwing down once again. Great performance by both guys. I really enjoyed this fight. All right, next, we have Volkan Oezdemir versus Alonzo Menifield. This fight went pretty much almost like I scripted it out how to go, man. I said that Volkan Oezdemir was going to march down Menifield, back him up against the fence, land some calf kicks, land some leg kicks. He landed, I think, like one. But it was just going to be that Volkan was more technical. He's the fighter that's been in there with the better opposition very consistently. He's been fighting the best guys in the world pretty much the whole time since he's been in the UFC. Remember when he got, rushed into a title shot against DC back in the day? Right? So Volkan Oezdemir, there really hasn't been an easy fight for him. Right? I figured that this might have been one of the easiest matchups for him. Right? And that's saying something because Menifield's dangerous. Big, powerful guy, former football player, very athletic, was putting together a nice little win streak. But it's just the fact that Volkan Oezdemir is more tactical, more technical. His boxing is good. We got to see that. March down Menifield, was waiting for, because Menifield kind of does this where he puts the high guard up, kind of sways, dips and bobs, and just looks to throw a big right hand. Oezdemir was ready, man. In no time. He's got no time, man. He's like, I got to finish this fight in the first round. I got better things to do, says Volkan Oezdemir, man. Goes out there, gets the first round knockout. That's exactly how I saw it going, man. First round KO, more technical, put the combinations on him, nice knees, good boxing in close, man. Good tight boxing from Volkan Oezdemir. Like I said, this guy spawns out of nowhere and just ends up on these fight cards out of nowhere, man. Love me some Volkan Oezdemir. Easy win for Volkan here. Alonzo's a big, strong guy, very dangerous, right over at Fortis MMA with Saif Saud, but I don't know, man. I just feel like Alonzo's one of those guys when you put the pressure on him, bait out the right hand outside of getting hit with a big right hand, he's just an easy guy to kind of pick up on. Too simple of a game for a guy that's been around the block, man, like Volkan Oezdemir. Easy dub. Excellent performance by Volkan Oezdemir. Give him a top guy in the weight class, honestly. I'm not quite sure because, light heavyweight's a little bit stale. Maybe you could get a Khalil Roundtree fight, right? Yuri's up there kind of in title talks. Olberg's up there in title talks. Ankalaev's at the top. Azamat Mirzakhanov, maybe. Volkan Oezdemir, I feel like, has earned a pretty big fight for himself. So I'll be curious to see how that goes down. Maybe he gets the winner of Jan Blachowicz and Bogdan Guskov. That goes down at UFC 323. So I'll be excited to see the next fight for Volkan, man. Always love watching the guy fight. He's an absolute savage. Jack Hermansson, Myktybek Orolbai. The man from Ice Age does it again, man. Myktybek Orolbai, I've been saying for a while, man, this is a guy that we have to have our eyes on. And one of the big concerns that I had coming into this fight, which we saw in the octagon, noticeably Jack Hermansson was much bigger than Orolbai. I couldn't believe how big Jack looked in there. I mean, I know he's a middleweight, and I'd been saying he's a very stout and strong guy for the middleweight division, but he looked big in there, man. And he was sticking and moving, which is kind of, Jack Hermansson's fencing in there. He's got this rock and sock him, kind of style, puts the jab on you, some good kicks. But Myktybek Orolbai, man, while he was a lightweight and he's been able to make the weight class before, he struggled to make the weight. He's fought at welterweight before, a couple catch weights recently. Welterweight is his home. I want to see him at 170 pounds, man, because this guy, in my opinion, has a super good ground game. And we didn't really even get to see it in this fight. Jack defended the takedowns well, which again, Jack's got a very competent ground game, and also he's a big, strong guy. So it's not going to be easy to just get him down. And Myktybek Orolbai said, I don't care if you can stop my grappling. I'm going to put the striking on display. Goes out there, gets a nasty first-round knockout, man. Landed the right hand right on the ear. Dropped Jack Hermansson. Nasty shot on the ground. That was sensational by Myktybek Orolbai, man. Absolutely sensational. To go out there and do that in round number 1 to Jack Hermansson, it just shows how good, lighter fighter skill, man. We were expecting the lighter man skill to be on display here. A guy that, he's, struggled to make 55, but he still fought at 55. Now he's at 170. Hermansson coming down. I hated this for Jack Hermansson, man. And I understood it to a degree. It's like, we're looking to kind of have a, rebirth in our career, fresh coat of paint per se. But at the end of the day, man, like, you got knocked out by RoboCop. He was having some kind of ups and downs, but then to get KO'd by RoboCop and then drop down and fight a super well-rounded guy like Orolbai, who's just been super game, it was just a horrible idea, in my opinion, for Jack Hermansson and Myktybek Orolbai. Not only people are just going to say, well, it was the weight cut, Obviously, that was a factor. It was not a good idea from Hermansson whatsoever. He looked good physically, but your chin starts to suffer, your gas tank starts to suffer, and the pressure that Orolbai put on him, he was way faster, and to me, he's just a more technical guy. Great performance by Orolbai to go out there. He's got a good ground game, good submission game. To get a submission in his last fight, have the war with Rebecki, and then goes out there and starches a guy that was at middleweight, that was a ranked guy at the middleweight division in Jack Hermansson, and starch him with one shot, man. Nasty stuff from Myktybek Orolbai, man. I think he might get a back-end ranked guy in the welterweight division next. So not quite sure what matchup we could see next for Orolbai, man, but he's definitely, I think, earned a back-end ranked guy. Maybe, or at least another, solid opponent in this weight class. He's super game, taking out Jack Hermansson like that. wildly impressive, man. Like I said, weight cut definitely a factor, but a credit to the skills of Myktybek Orolbai. I picked him to get this one done by a submission, ended up getting a KO, but I figured Orolbai to me was pretty much a lock coming into this fight, man. Waldo Cortes Acosta versus Shamil Gaziev, man. This was a tough one, man. And I didn't get to pick this fight because I ended up picking Shamil Gaziev to beat Sergey Spivak, and then Sergey pulled out. And then in steps Waldo Cortes on a couple days' notice. What more can you say about Waldo, man? Going over to Qatar and taking out the pound-for-pound number one fighter in the sport, Shamil Gaziev, man. No, listen, man, that was hard to see Shamil get KO'd, right? All the memes, all the fun that we have. And Shamil's a good fighter. But he was kind of wailing his shots, man, kind of looping, getting a little wild out there. You can't do that against Waldo. Waldo's fast, right? Was a pitcher in baseball, big, strong guy. That jab was snapping of Waldo, right? Pulling him into his shots, nasty calf kicks, and that right hand of Waldo. No, Waldo was kind of a decision guy when he first came into the UFC, man, and he's been finding these KOs, right? The KO over Ilia, right? I know he lost the decision to Pavlovich, but he's looked good, man. He's finding these KOs. He's finding a home for that right hand. Shamil Gaziev just got too reckless in the pocket, man. He was off balance, overextending on his shots. And I just figured if he wasn't going to mix in the grappling, right? We've seen Shamil have some issues with the gas tank, and Waldo taking this on short notice. I mean, if there's ever a weight class where you could take a fight on short notice and not really have too much of an impact, I feel like it's heavyweight, right? Goes out there, nasty right hand, starches Shamil Gaziev, follows up with a shot and puts him away. I mean, and then he's got the eye patch thing going on, calls out Tom Aspinall. Salsa boy, man, I love watching this guy fight, man. I mean, we're all big fans of Shamil Gaziev, right? The legend. We wanted it to ride on. We wanted he was inevitable, the title shot. The road's not over for Shamil, man. Waldo Cortes was a harder fight than Sergey Spivak, I think, stylistically. I thought that Shamil was going to beat Spivak. Waldo's a much harder fight. And that's what I was saying coming into this, on my live stream. So, Waldo, dude's game, man. That eye poke in that fight, comes back, gets a KO, ends up taking a fight on short notice, coming out here all the way over in Qatar, getting a KO over a guy like Shamil who's only lost once in his career to Rosenstrike. First round knockout for Waldo, man. I feel like he should get a title shot next, right? I know that they're going to redo, they're going to book the rematch, Aspinall versus Gane. So, Waldo's saying he wants to fight again this year, which I love that, wanting to be active. Maybe they do Alexander Volkov. Maybe they do Volkov versus Waldo on the 323 card. I know that that's 2 weeks away. I don't know if that can make that happen. Maybe on that, fight night card to end the year, the Royval versus Cap card. Man, I'd love to see him back in the octagon again, man. I love guys that want to be active, guys that are super game like Waldo, can get eye poke, come back in, knock somebody out, take a short notice fight, come out there, get a KO, not afraid to take on a guy like Sergey Pavlovich. I love what we're seeing from Waldo, man. His takedown defense has shown to be excellent in his other fights. We saw that against Sergey Spivak. His boxing is good. His power is good. The jab is snapping. And that right hand is just finding the target on everybody, man. So I think you could give him a title shot, honestly. Right? I know we got Pavlovich kind of, because he lost to Sergey. So I know that people look at that like maybe that dampens it. He wants to be active, man. He wants to fight Aspinall, but he says he wants to be active. So if Alexander Volkov can make it happen, why don't we book a fight like that, man? So I'd love to see Waldo fight again before year's end, man. This was a tough fight for Shamil. It went from a very winnable fight against Spivak to one where it felt like it was not going to end well against a super hard hitter that's got good speed and good takedown defense. And Waldo Cortes Acosta, how can you not like Salsa Boy, man? Going out there, stunting on Orlovsky, pissing everybody off, taunting him, to now having the fan base behind him these days, man. And Shamil, man, that was hard seeing the GOAT go down like that, man. That was very, very tough. He'll be back, man. Always got that smile on his face. He took a chance, too. So shout out to Shamil, man. He didn't say, no, I don't want that fight. It's hard, or I don't want that. Stayed on the card. Took on a short notice fight because, again, it was risky for him as well. Even though he's the one with the camp. Short notice against like I said, it was a harder fight in Waldo Cortes. So shout out, man. I knew that this was going to be a collision. And great performance by Waldo, man. How can you not like Salsa Boy, man? All right, Tagir Ulanbekov versus Kyoji Horiguchi. I picked Kyoji Horiguchi to win this fight, and I said by a decision, and he goes out there and gets a submission in round number 3. And make no mistake about it, I like Tagir Ulanbekov, man. But I had to be real in my assessment. And the assessment that I had was, people forget, man, Kyoji Horiguchi was 7-1 in the UFC. He'd been fighting really good competition in Bellator. Guys like Darian Caldwell that have good ground games. Right? Yeah, he lost to Patchy Mix, but that was at bantamweight. That was up a weight class. And I get it, Patchy Mix hasn't been good at the UFC. But back then, Patchy had a lot of hype. right? And then he was on a crazy win streak, beating guys like Sergio Pettis, right? His ground game was fantastic in this fight, man. He absolutely punked Tagir in this fight, man. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Dominated the fight. Dominated it. And I know that Tagir is tall for the weight class, rangy. I don't know, it's hard to say because he's only had a couple losses in his career, and I know Kyoji is that good. That's what I've been saying about Kyoji Horiguchi, that karate style, the blitzing in and out of range, the timing. He literally beat Ulanbekov everywhere. Dominated him on the feet, dominated him on the ground. This was a one-sided beatdown by Kyoji, man. And it kind of has me in the aspect of, I feel like Tagir cuts a lot of weight, man. Maybe he moves up to bantamweight. Again, that's a very hard division. Flyweight's heating up, man. We absolutely have a contender right now. And I love the call out from Kyoji. Some fire on the microphone, wanting Pantoja. And people are going to say he shouldn't get a title shot right away. They literally walked Kaya Sakura into the UFC without a single fight in the promotion and gave him a title shot. So I don't think it's crazy for Kyoji to come in his welcome back to the UFC. Because again, not his debut. He was 7-1 in the promotion before. Fought against Demetrius Johnson. Lost to him in a title fight. Kyoji Horiguchi, man, looked like a world beater tonight, man, because Tagir Ulanbekov, he's no scrub, man. He's a very, very good fighter. Was ranked number 11. Good ground game, solid on the feet. Kyoji Horiguchi was better. Just better overall, man, everywhere. His power was good, springing into range, the kicks, landed a nasty head kick, kicks to the body, beat up the leg of Tagir, was having him switch stances, was beating him up on the ground, locked into submission. I mean, to go out there and completely bulldoze Ulanbekov like that is wildly impressive. I don't think we've seen that. That was incredible, man, from Kyoji, man. Absolutely incredible. I think he's, 35 years of age, and this guy still, he's fought the exact same way his entire career. That karate style, hands low, moving in and out of range. And I was saying on the live stream, if you think about it, think about guys like Wonderboy, right? Guys like Raymond Daniels, guys like MVP, these karate-based guys that have been in MMA, right? Raymond Daniels, I think, was in Bellator, but, kickboxing career, karate-based. These guys age and they get old and they still carry that speed and the movement. Very, very impressive stuff from Kyoji Horiguchi, man. Going out there, dominating Tagir Ulanbekov like that, getting a finish. Maybe they have him fight another top-ranked guy in this weight class. Wouldn't be surprised if they have him do that. Maybe the winner of Moreno and Tyra. I wouldn't hate it if they gave Kyoji Horiguchi a title shot, man. To go out there and do that, and you're welcome back. He's now 8-1 total in the UFC, and he's riding a crazy win streak as well. I love me some Kyoji Horiguchi, man. So we'll see what happens between Van and Alexandre Pantoja. I don't hate the idea of Kyoji Horiguchi getting a title shot next, or just a top guy in the weight class. Amazing performance by Kyoji. Tagir he'll be back, man. Kyoji's just on a different level, and that's what I figured coming into this fight. That's why I picked Horiguchi. All right, Bogdan Grad versus Luke Riley. We finally have a guy come over from Cage Warriors, a Paddy Pimblett teammate, come into the UFC and finally live up to the hype and show what he's capable of. And I picked Luke Riley to get a second-round knockout, and that is what we saw in this fight. And exactly how, and I'm patting myself on the back. Brother, be humble, guy. Be humble, brother. I literally called exactly how this fight was going to play out. Bogdan Grad was going to push the pace, was going to put him up against the fence, was going to take him down, and we were going to be sitting there going, oh boy, too much too soon. This ain't good. And then in round 2, Luke Riley was going to start to have an answer for the ground game, was going to get the corner advice, and then was eventually going to get to the boxing. It is exactly what happened. He threw the 1-2, hung in there, threw the 3 as Bogdan Grad was mid-combination, dropped him with a beautifully timed left hook, finished up with some nasty ground and pound. This was an amazing debut win from Luke Riley, man. Got tested in round 1 against Bogdan, and I feel like that's a lot of the questions that people had coming into this fight. Bogdan Grad is not the easiest debut. Obviously, there's harder debuts, but Bogdan Grad's pretty game. The only time he's been knocked out in his career was the first time he was on DWCS against Tom Nolan, who's been a world beater so far, a prospect in this weight class, right? He's been on a tear. Right, and for Luke Riley to go out there, and that's what I said, man, this guy to me is some of the better striking, at least with the boxing that we've seen from those Paddy Pimblett teammates. Right, his hands are good, man. They're clean, good technical boxing, good cardio as well. And he was defending the takedowns beautifully in round 2. It was an ugly first round, but that's what I expected. Bogdan Grad, good pressure, strong guy, right? Good, just relentless in his pursuit. But I just felt like eventually Luke Riley was going to get the fight into his world, keep it on the feet, have an answer for the ground game, and then get to the combinations, and that's what we saw. That was a statement performance from Luke Riley, man. In your debut to get a KO like that in round 2 against a pretty game guy who's looked pretty decent in Bogdan Grad, very impressive stuff from Luke Riley, man, to go out there and do that to a guy like Bogdan Grad, because Grad's good, man, very underrated. Relentless, good cardio, right? Seemed like he slowed down just a little bit, put a lot of energy into that first round. That's kind of how I saw this fight playing out, man. Luke Riley going out there and getting the nasty KO. Great performance, man. Nicolas, Dalby, Saygid, Izagakhmaev. This is the only prediction I got wrong on the card, man. I really was disappointed in Saygid in this fight. And credit, first of all, to Nicolas Dalby. He had a bizarre, but yet, after we got to see the decision, it was a very effective game plan, and actually one that was very surprising, right? Nicolas Dalby, the fight starts, gets right in the face of Izagakhmaev, puts him up against the fence, and just basically turned it into this clinch war up against the cage, right? And he was just wearing on Saygid, and I think that was the game plan. Nicolas Dalby's like, look, I'm a big, strong guy. I got power. Of course I could sit at range and land shots on you like he was doing at range. But he's like, I don't really want to risk it here. I'm strong. I trust myself here. I'm the UFC veteran. I'm 40-some years of age. I've been around the block, man. I'm going to put you up against the fence, and I'm going to weaponize my experience. And man, just like we saw with Tagir, Saygid just faded with the gas tank, man. It was not a very good night for, the Team Khabib guys, man. They looked tired. They fatigued quickly. And we saw that from Saygid, and I had high expectations for Izagakhmaev, man. He looked good over in ONE FC. Right, he had been away for, I think 2 years from MMA, but still, he's a well-rounded fighter, and this was a split decision, so I could have seen it going either way, but I thought Dalby won. I gave this to Dalby, man. I thought he definitely won 29-28. Right, and I understand maybe you could make an argument or whatever, so that's what I mean by understand like a split decision, but I thought that Dalby won. I definitely did. Landing good shots at range, good shots in the clinch. Right, Saygid got some takedowns, but he was dog-tired, man. He definitely lost round 3, and I thought Saygid, won round 2, and then round 1, I thought went to Dalby. Put the pressure on him, was landing good shots in the clinch as well. Kind of a little bit of a slow fight to a degree. Not a ton of action at times, but it was just a grueling pace, man. And Nicolas Dalby was spazzy in there, moving around all over the place. Just was relentless, man. Pushed him up against the fence, imposed his will. Veteran, savvy, crafty performance from the 40-some-year-old Nicolas Dalby, man, to shut down Saygid Izagakhmaev. I was very impressed by Nicolas Dalby. Little disappointed in Saygid. I expected more, man. Alex Perez versus Almabayev, man. This was wild. On the live stream, we're sitting there and we're all in agreement that Alex Perez is up 2-0 over Almabayev. Almost nothing is going right for Asu. He's getting takedowns at the end of the rounds, not being able to do anything with them. Basically getting a few minutes of control time, no damage, getting outstruck on the feet. He's landing one shot. Perez is countering with 4, battering him with leg kicks. I'm like, Perez is up 2-0, man. Like, Almabayev's going to need a finish. Almabayev not exactly known for his finishing ability. And then he goes to the corner. And I feel like the trusty old boogeyman Shavkat Rakhmonov, who's a master of getting submissions while standing or locking in something on the feet when it comes to this submission game. I feel like the crafty Shavkat must have said something to him, man, because then Almabayev jumps. I think it was like a standing guillotine, man. Perez picks him up in the air. That thing was tight as could be, and Almabayev ends up pulling it off right away in round 3 within the first minute. So impressive from Asu, man, because he was, in my opinion, no question, down 2-0. Needed a finish. Not known for his knockout power, was getting outstruck. Perez is crafty, savvy, man, right? He's only lost to some of the best guys in the division, right? Good leg kicks, was fighting with good pressure, good intensity, good combinations, mixing things up well, was even having success taking down Almabayev. I mean, it was dang impressive from Perez for the first 2 rounds. And then to come out there in round 3 and get the sub in the first minute like that, and Almabayev, great urgency, great awareness, taking a chance. Big win for Almabayev to get that done over a veteran like Alex Perez, man. Wasn't looking good, but to go out there, dig deep, and pull that one off, very impressive by Almabayev. Abdul Rahman Yakiev, man, I was telling you guys coming into this is not only going to be a first-round finish, but it's going to be within the first minute. My problem was I didn't know what the finish was going to be. I picked KO, but it ended up being submission because Abdul Rahman landed the big shot on the feet and almost KO'd him. It was either going to be that or he was going to hurt him and then sub him, which is what ended up happening. Club and sub. Landed that, through a combination, extended, landed a head kick. got into a dominant position, got the submission, got him out of there. I mean, Rafael Sicchietto, like, this guy shouldn't even be in the UFC. He's basically a round that you throw to a prospect. And how bad is Juicebox Julius Walker, by the way? How bad is Julius Walker? Modestas Bukauskas ran over Rafael. Ibo Aslan ran him over. Julius Walker, yeah, he was dominating him a little bit on the ground, but he couldn't finish him, right? And then Abdul Rahman goes out there and starches him in round 1. After that Contender Series performance, man, I was telling you, Abdul Rahman's a prospect to keep your eye on, man. Dangerous on the feet, super explosive, good ground game, good submissions, good ground and pound. This was, however, Abdul Rahman wanted to win this fight. I expected it to be within the first minute. That is exactly what we got. Domination by Abdul Rahman, guys, a problem. Bekzat Almakhan versus Alexandre Topuria. This was the fight that I was most excited for on the entire card. These guys, in my opinion, are two guys that have the skills of being a ranked bantamweight. I feel like right now, if you put a ranking next to their name, nobody would bat an eye. And I picked Alexandre Topuria to win this fight by a decision for basically the reasons that we saw. He was going to avoid the big shots of Bekzat. Now, Bekzat landed some big shots on him early, dropped Topuria. Right, was landing some nasty leg kicks, but to me, he should have thrown more leg kicks, right? Topuria's got that boxing heavy stance. He fights exactly like Ilia, man. They got the same exact style. It's so beautiful to watch. That high guard, right? Shoulders rolled forward, very hard to hit clean. Almakhan's good, man. Scrambling on the ground, was able to get back to his feet, but Topuria's got a good ground game. Was able to control Bekzat a little bit on the floor, right? Was able to neutralize him, land some decent shots on the ground. The jab started to get going, and it's just like Ilia, right outside of KOing Charles in round 1. They have that boxer's approach. Jab, build your reads, don't really take any risks early, start to build your reads, and then after the first round, they start to open up. That's exactly what you saw from Alexandre, man. The jab started peppering, the jab started thudding, and then the right hand started to follow, and Topuria almost knocked out Almakhan in this fight, man. Started to land some nasty right hands. I expected him to dig to the body a little more. We didn't really see that. One thing that I will say about Alexandre is this guy, to me, I think he's going to be a future champion. I really believe that because him and Merab, I mean, there's a connection, the Georgian connection, right? Merab is very close with the Topurias. They're not going to fight each other. And I think by the time Alexandre gets to the top of the weight class, I feel like Merab maybe moves on to the featherweight division. I think Alexandre could be a champion, man. His hardest, there's some hard fights for sure. Guys like Piotr Yan, guys like an Umar. So depending on how that kind of times up, because I could see those guys being a really hard fight for Topuria. So I'm not saying he beats those guys, but outside of those guys, I feel like Alexandre can beat just about everybody else. There's some tricky fights, man. This guy's got wicked skills, dude. He fights exactly like Ilia. Doesn't have the same kind of thud, but he's a big, strong guy in the bantamweight division, man. That right hand was nasty. How durable is Bekzat? Ate some big shots, man. And we really haven't seen Bekzat in a ton of trouble. In every single fight that he's been in, Bekzat hurts his opponent. And he did in this fight as well. This was one of the most high-level fights you could get. Two prospects against each other. Outside of the rankings, I felt like this was one of the most high-level fights that we have seen all year, man, outside of the rankings. Amazing fight, dude. Was so jazzed up for this fight. Was really nervous, too. Was really, really nervous. May not be the last time we see these guys fight. I feel like we may see these guys fight again because I think Bekzat's going to find his way into the rankings at some point as well. Don't forget how he KO'd Brad Katona, knocked down Umar Nurmagomedov. He's been very good, man. Alexandre's for real, though, man. I think this guy's a future champion in the making. He's got elite boxing. That right hand was nasty. Dang near KO'd Bekzat once he got the timing. The jab was thudding. The head movement was good. The defense was on point. Alexandre is for real, man. Absolutely for real. Hasn't had a super active career. Back-to-back wins in the UFC, makes his debut. Puts on a masterclass against Colby Thickness, a guy who's going to utilize a lot of footwork, puts on a masterclass, comes out here, to me, looked even more polished than the Thickness fight, and goes out there and dang near KOs Bekzat Almakhan. Unbelievably impressive, man. Bekzat Almakhan will be back. And in terms of Topuria, I feel like he should get a ranked guy, man. Back-end ranked guy. Maybe they give him a Rob Font. I feel like that'd be a fun fight. Rob Font's kind of been known for the prospect slayer to a degree, even though I picked Martinez to beat him in the last fight. That was a good fight, though. Right, but Rob Font, remember he beat Adrian Yanez, who was a hyped-up boxer, right? Then you had, Jean Matsumoto. Maybe Alexandre Topuria versus like an Adrian Yanez or a Rob Font. I feel like Rob Font and Topuria is a great fight, man. Boxer's delight. I like it. I like that fight, man. And Alexandre Topuria's got a good ground game, so that's just what I'm thinking off the top of my head, man. I feel like Rob Font and Alexandre Topuria is an amazing fight. Boxer on boxer. Maybe a Jonathan Martinez, someone like that. Right? Maybe an Adrian Yanez. I like the Rob Font fight, man. I like that fight. Give me that, Rob. Give me that. Yeah, Rob Font versus Alexandre Topuria, man. I like that fight. All right, Ismail Naurdiev versus Ryan Loder. I picked Ismail Naurdiev to win this fight by a decision, and he ended up going out there and getting a round 1 KO. Listen, I even said that I didn't have a ton of confidence in either guy, but I had more confidence in Ismail because Ryan Loder, that his best win basically in his career was beating up Robert Valentin. And we saw in the Azamat Bakoyev fight how badly Yusri Bolgaroy beat the brakes off of Azamat Bakoyev. It kind of made me go back and watch some of the Bakoyev fights. And I'm like, this guy's good. He's got a good ground game, but he just wings these big power shots. And I'm like, okay, so if you're melting to that, if you're not getting the takedowns, Ishmael's a more polished striker as well, and I think Loder's going to struggle. And Ishmael didn't throw a big ooga booga slingshot right hand. Tight corkscrew right hand, right on the button, starches Ryan Loder and puts him out bad, man. Devastating knockout, man. Big win for Ismail Naurdiev, right? Loses to, a super crafty and game guy like, Jung Young Park going out there getting a win like this. Very impressive stuff from Ismail Naurdiev to go out there and, he's got questionable takedown defense, so I was worried about that in this fight, but I felt like it was competent enough to where if it ended up there, he would be able to get back to his feet and be able to do what he does, and that is strike. And he had a big advantage there, in my opinion. Ryan Loder, very one-dimensional. If you can't get the fight in his world, he's pretty much screwed. Easy dub for Ishmael. Was very impressed. Nurullo Aliev versus Shamrock. Now, I got to address something. A few people caught me. They realized that I was going live. I was in a live stream, and I went in there and I fought Shamrock, and I came out. People were telling me I look like Nurullo Aliev, man. So... I feel like maybe I look like him a little bit. I don't know. You guys tell me. I know people have been commenting that, so that's fine. You guys are funny, man. This was what I expected. I expected Nurullo Aliev to win a decision, and I expected it to be tough, though. This was a very action-packed fight. Great back and forth. Shamrock, a teammate of Paddy Pimblett's. He's got the, Paddy Pimblett's scarecrow striking, right? Not great defense. Everything's kind of muscle, but they kick hard. Big for the weight class, big kicks, good leg kicks, kicks to the body. Trying to set up the head kick, but I figured in this fight the difference was going to be Nurullo Aliev's, yes, his wrestling, but his striking was going to open up in this fight. His striking looked good. He was landing some big shots on the feet against Shamrock, man. So Nurullo continues the streak. He's undefeated, man. Right? I think that's 3-0 in the UFC. Got the ground and pound finish on the Contender Series. Looks good, man. I look good. Nurullo Aliev, man, he's very good, man. He's very, very good. I like that we got to see him go out there and strike a little bit. Ended up in a bad position where Shamrock, I think, took his back, scrambled out of it. Nurullo's very good on the ground. Good wrestling, good awareness. And like I said, his striking, I feel like, is underrated. People talk about him like he's only a wrestler. And I'm like, man, his striking's pretty decent if you go back and watch some of his fights. So we got to put that on display against a guy that, I think the UFC should keep around, man. Shamrock's got some personality. He's got an entertaining style. He's a finisher. This was a very action-packed back and forth fight, man. Really enjoyed it, but I thought, while it was competitive, Nurullo Aliev was clearly winning the fight. Good win by Nurullo, man. And last but not least, Marek Buljo versus Denzel Freeman. The good news is the worst fight of the night, which I don't think it was that horrible. I mean, it was not a great fight, but we've seen worse. This was the worst fight on the card, and it was the first fight on the card, right? So Denzel Freeman, I thought was going to win this fight. I thought he was going to get a first-round knockout, but he actually went out there and put on a good performance. Denzel Freeman, and to credit both of these guys, they're not really fat blobs. Their gas tanks look pretty decent. Merrick was pushing the pace, throwing, decent shots, but he was kind of picking and poking, man. This looked like a sparring match. You go, I go. Tit for tat, back and forth. You go, I go. Dutch drills. So it's never good to see that in a fight. What we saw from Freeman was he's more accomplished, right? He's fought in PFL, right? I think it was LFA, Titan FC. He's been fighting the better opposition. And the guys that Merrick was fighting, it just looked like WWE out there. Those guys were curling up into a ball, and he was just dominating him on the ground. Couldn't get the fight to the floor. He did one time, and Denzel's got a competent ground game. Got right back to his feet. And then I expected Denzel to open up a little bit more, knowing that was probably the worry was getting taken down. His hands were sharp, good kicks as well, good movement, big, strong guy. And what was encouraging for me about Freeman was he started to get the lead leg attacked, and then he adapted his stance from so long and bladed, more boxing-based, to bringing that leg in and going a little bit more of a Muay Thai style, light on the lead leg to check and block the kick. So that was a little thing that I saw from Denzel Freeman that displays some nice adjustments, good fight IQ. Hey, man, Denzel Freeman looks pretty good on the heavyweight division, not just some sort of fat blob. I expected him to get a KO, but I thought he would win the fight either way. And to go out there and put it on a guy like Merrick, I just felt like Denzel was the better fighter overall, given what we saw coming into this fight. So that's it, man. UFC Qatar, like I said, one of the best cards of the year. Definitely the best fight night. I know UFC Paris was amazing. I thought that this fight night was sensational. One of the best cards of the year. Amazing entertainment. all across the board, man. Give me Arman versus Ilia. You know, I think Ian should get the title shot. Love this card, man. But if you guys enjoyed this video, do me a favor. Give me a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss an upload. I would greatly appreciate it. See you next time.